Hello. Now, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but I'll record it and work out later whether or not you actually heard anything I said. We're on the Foxton Flats at the moment, so we're heading towards Foxton. So we're out in the country. Now, although this road's only 2 lanes, one in each direction, we're actually on State Highway 1. So this is the main road that goes the length of New Zealand. Obviously breaking in the middle for the Cook's Strait, where you have crossing the ferry. The State Highway 1 travels the length of both the North Island and the South Island. We're just coming into Foxton now, so I should have started recording earlier. So you could have seen some of the countryside like that, and some of the farmhouses and things. As you can see, the ground is looking very, very dry. It's very hot here, and we are in summer, so that's no surprise. And there's what looks like an old Bedford truck. After I said there's no Bedford trucks around anymore, there's one, although it does look like that one hasn't moved in many, many years. So we're just going through Foxton now, and there'll be some more interesting stuff at the other side of Foxton. So we'll just keep this video going as we go through here. Of course, these speed limits here are in kilometres now, not miles per hour. So 50 kilometres an hour, which is the limit through Foxton, is 31 miles per hour. Now, for the most part, State Highway 1 is only 2 lanes, one in each direction, and you slow down at every little township you come to, just like this. So there are some bits where it's not like that, but for the most part, it's 2 lanes and you're slowing down at every township. Unlike in the States, where you get onto the highways and then just stay there until you want to hop off to either go and find a diner or go and find a petrol station or something, which is part of the reason it takes so long to travel anywhere in New Zealand, because you can't maintain a decent speed, because even at 100 kilometres an hour or 62 miles an hour, which is the open road speed limit, you're always having to slow down for townships like this, so you just can't maintain that speed. Yeah, so it does take a fair while to travel anywhere in New Zealand compared to some countries overseas, but that's all right. We enjoy the drive, so we don't mind. I do hope this video comes out okay, but yeah, there's so much sun on my screen, I can't be 100% certain that it is actually working as intended at the moment. So we've just got to hope, and we'll try pressing playback later and see if it worked. So we're just about to head out of Foxton now, and we're heading back home to Wellington. We drove up to Wanganui yesterday. It was a very last minute decision to go up there for an overnight trip. My wife and I are in the one car this time, so we don't have a second MX-5 with us, just the one. If our daughter had wanted to come with us, then we would have had to bring 2 cars, but I'm afraid she's at 14 years of age. She's now reached that point where mum and dad just aren't cool anymore, so it's not a lot of fun to hang out with them. So she's back at home, and one of her older sisters is staying there for a couple of days so that we could go away and leave her at home. You don't want to leave a 14-year-old home on their own for too long. There you go, we're back on 100 kilometres an hour now. You can see silage bales there. Now it seems here in New Zealand that this year's colour for silage wrap is green. The only colour wrapping I've seen on silage bales this year is that pale green colour. I haven't seen any other colour this year. It does appear to me that each year New Zealand gets a different colour, and there's probably about 4 to 6 colour cycle. So once you've gone through 4 to 6 different colours, it cycles back through again. So I do remember seeing green bales a few years ago. But yeah, it seems to be like most of the country all just gets the same colour wrap. So if this summer is green, it means that if you were going to buy silage bales from another farm or something, you can tell how old the bales are from the colour that they're wrapped in. And this year's are green. So yeah, back on State Highway 1, but again, we can't maintain 100 because there's someone slower than that ahead of us. We just can't overtake at this point. As you can see, there's motorcycle slicers in the middle there, as I call them. It stopped cars from crossing the centre line, but quite frankly, if you're that asleep that you're crossing the centre line, you shouldn't be driving anyway. just after we get over this bridge, there should be a bit more country for you to see. But you can see some there. It's quite flat just here. A lot of New Zealand is quite hilly. It just depends the part of New Zealand you're in. The bit that we're in right now is quite flat, but we will get hilly again later. But it does mean that when you do get maps of New Zealand countryside, even if they're realistic New Zealand maps on Farming Simulator, they can look quite different from each other depending on what part of New Zealand they're based in. And it's also why so many different English and Irish maps could so easily pass for New Zealand. Maybe not quite so much right here, but a lot of New Zealand could quite easily pass, the UK maps could quite easily pass as a New Zealand map, except for the hedgerows. We don't really get hedgerows, we get fences instead, and instead of stone buildings we get either corrugated iron or wood. So we don't see stone buildings in New Zealand, but the lay of the land is still very, very similar. So getting into a wee bit of foothills just here. I think it's flat again on the other side of this, I think, from memory. But we're coming up to a passing lane, so we're going to get past this truck. Yeah, you saw that. So Nikki's driving at the moment. I was driving earlier. She's driving now, and yeah. So hopefully the wind's not so noisy that you can still hear my voice over it. And here we are back in New Zealand countryside again. See, it came past us there. There's a farmhouse that we're coming up to now. There you go, a farmhouse. My wife's not too happy because there's lots of cows in this area and the smell is wafting into the car. So she's not too happy, she doesn't really like the smell of cows. I don't mind them in the slightest, so I'm not complaining at the smell. You can see, because this area that we're in right now is quite windswept, so you'll notice whenever you see a farmhouse, there's always a lot of trees around the farmhouse. They plant trees around the houses in this area to act as a windbreak, to keep the wind down around the house. But it is quite interesting to see the different styles of farmhouses and farm sheds around them when you see them. And as you can see, there's a lot of silage bales everywhere. There's definitely season to be making silage bales at the moment. Which, if you've played Farming Simulator, you already know that summer is the time to be mowing and baling. So no surprises there. They're probably on second cut by now, I'd say. If I had to guess, I'd say that's second cut, and I'd hopefully get a third cut in. And you can see some of the plastic tunnels there. They'll have, not sure what that is in there, whether it's grapes or something else. Yep, okay, my wife tells me it was grapes. It looked like grapevines to me. Although this area of New Zealand's not well known for grapes, around Nelson area would be a lot better known for that sort of thing. It would normally be a bit cold up here, which is probably why they've got plastic around them like that. There's some cows. And we're coming into a high crash rate area. What that really means is an area where people stop paying attention. It's okay. That sign back there said there's a surf casting competition coming up here. Now, that is one of the things about New Zealand. It doesn't matter whereabouts in New Zealand you live, you're never very far from the coast or the nearest beach. I don't think there's anywhere in New Zealand that would be more than an hour's drive from the nearest beach. So my understanding is that in some places in middle America, you've got old men that have never ever seen the ocean in their whole life because they've never ever been anywhere near a coast. But here in New Zealand, you're never far from the coast, ever. So we have a lot of water sports, jet skiing and water skiing and that sort of thing. We have a lot of surf casting, stuff like that, because everyone's close to the ocean. And often you'll see a farmer might have a boat on a trailer. So when the cows are dried off and there's not a lot to do on the farm, he'll hook the boat onto the back of the four-wheel drive ute and take it down to the nearest beach to have some time out. It's quite a common sight in New Zealand to see a boat and trailer in a farmyard put away in the corner somewhere waiting for the dry season. So these trees here are acting as a windbreak. We're out of the wind right now as a result of those trees. Or more like a hedgerow than trees really, but it's certainly acting as a good windbreak right there. But it's just coming to an end now. I imagine all the farmers have well and truly finished their Christmas holidays by now, and they'll be right into that second cut of silage. So no rest for them right now. It's a big plastic water tank. Now on a couple of my maps I've put big water tanks behind the house like that because in New Zealand that's a very, very common sight, having big plastic water tanks to feed water into the house. You see here a couple of different farmhouses, one big brick one and a smaller wooden one. Now it's possible that wooden one there was the main farmhouse for the farm at one stage, and as the farmer began making more money, he built the big brick house for himself and probably now has a farm worker living in that wooden one that was the main house. A lot of farmhouses are quite big, firstly because they've got the land to be able to do it, but also secondly because they live out in the middle of nowhere. They'll have things like they'll have swimming pools, they might have a room with a pool table in it. I've even seen farmers that have their own private movie studios with like 8 lazy boy chairs and a big huge screen at the front, so you can go to the movies without even leaving home. So that's not an uncommon thing in New Zealand. See that in some farmhouses, but that's more for the farmer that's been doing it for many, many decades, and so they've sort of made their money from it. A lot of farmers also do it quite tough, the younger farmers, so there's definitely a couple of different, you've got the younger farmers doing it tough, the older farmers that are getting close to retirement, possibly looking at downsizing or passing the land on to their children, and they have all the bells and whistles that they like at their house. So see there, I can't really see it through the fence there, but we're in an area of roadworks at the moment. Now with roadworks we stick well back from the cars in front of us. Our car is very low to the ground, so we get stone chips on our car very easily. In fact, on the way north yesterday we had a big truck come past us and put a big stone chip in our windscreen, so we had to detour through Palmerston North to get the stone chip fixed on our windscreen before it cracked and got worse. We didn't want it to be up for replacing the whole windscreen. Now we do have, as well as full car insurance, we have glass cover separately, so the windscreen, the stone chip in it was fixed for free, so it didn't cost us anything. But it took about 45 minutes, so we dropped the car off, we went and had a late lunch while they fixed our windscreen for us, and then we went and picked the car up again. But that is why we stuck so far back from the cars ahead of us when we're on gravel like this. It's not good for the paint job with having the nose of the car so low to the ground as well. So we just, if we can avoid stone chips and flying stones, it pays to do so. I know that AK drives a big, I think it's a Chevy Suburban or a GMC Suburban from memory. I have no idea what vehicle the PA Plowboy drives. I'm also not sure what vehicle Fury Machine Gaming drives, but I know that AK has a big, I'm pretty sure it's a Chevy Suburban. I imagine with something that big, you don't really need to worry about stone chips in the windshield or anything like that. It's probably just not really a thing. But certainly is in a vehicle like this. Okay, we're coming into Otaki now. Sorry?
Levin.
Oh, Levin, sorry. Coming into Levin. I've kind of lost track a wee bit. So yeah, Levin, then Otaki will be next. Let's talk about the markings on the road there. Hopefully you can see those. So the white line, the yellow line that's just this side of the white line, that means no overtaking or no crossing the centre line to do it. And because the yellow line was on this side of the white line, it means people travelling our direction weren't allowed to overtake. Now the people travelling the other direction aren't allowed to overtake. So the yellow lines are there when you can't see far enough ahead to be able to safely overtake someone while crossing the centre line. Having said that, New Zealand is full of cops with speed cameras. It's also full of mounted speed cameras on lampposts or in vans. So speeding tickets are a huge part of the financial, the police use as a real money grab. So in all honesty, in New Zealand, you just can't afford to be speeding anywhere. So really, for all intents and purposes, that means the only time you ever overtake is when there's a passing lane. You don't really tend to cross the centre line to overtake because you just cannot speed. So you don't want to be too long on the wrong side of the road, so you just stay back until you get to a passing lane. Speeding tickets in New Zealand are very expensive, and if you get 3 of them in a 2-year period, then you lose your licence for about, 3 months, 6 months. I'm not sure how long it is because I've never lost my licence and don't really want to find out, but certainly, you just can't afford to speed in New Zealand. You really can't. So we don't. We just stick to speed limits. Okay, well, it looks like we're going to be stuck in traffic a wee bit here in Levin, so I might finish the video here. And as I said, I hope it recorded, and I hope I can work out how to turn the thing off again. Stop it. I think that did it.